Today we're talking about one of the cheesiest combos from the new Codex Space Marines, why it's so strong, and some ways that we might be able to counter it. Hello and welcome back to Auspex Tactics, where today we're discussing the match made in hell between the Invader ATV and the Apothecary. When any codex comes out, it does make people think what are the ways that we can most abuse the combos, and one of the things that was immediately most obvious was that to get the most out of the Apothecary's healing abilities, you just needed to pair him up with a big squad of ATVs. This one probably isn't one to turn up to casual games with, and I do suspect that it might well be nerfed in an FAQ when one comes out for the Space Marine Codex. Until then though, let's take a look at some of the cheese. So Invader ATVs have a pretty reasonable all-round stat line in Codex Space Marines. I'd say the most impressive attribute is how tanky they are. They get 8 wounds at toughness 5 and a 3+ save for 80 or 85 points, and you can take units of 3 of them, which means that you can really stack some quite big buffs on the big unit. They're very fast, so can get their firepower where they need to, and in terms of armaments they're typically run with multi-melters and a set of 2 auto-bolt rifles, so 2 high-power anti-tank shots and a bunch of anti-infantry fire. The multi-melters are my favourite, though I do think that the Onslaught Gatling Cannon is pretty decent as well if you're really hurting for anti-infantry fire in the Space Marine army. On their own, I think they're fairly strong, they wouldn't necessarily be much stronger than many of the other units in the Space Marine decks. The keywords were the interesting bit about this unit. They don't have the core keyword, but they do have the biker keyword as opposed to being vehicles. As Apothecary's abilities can affect bikers, this allows some shenanigans. The main way that I've seen people proposing running the Apothecary alongside him is a Chief Apothecary with the Selfless Healer trait. This guy is really good at both medicine and bike repair, as he can use his healing abilities twice and can use it on the same ATV for 3 wounds apiece each, so can heal one ATV up to 6 wounds per turn. He grants the unit a 6+ feel no pain, which is a decent buff to their durability. And most problematically of all, if you do happen to lose a ATV in the squad, then he gets to use that combat restorative stratagem for absolutely free, so potentially you can be restoring an extra 8 wounds of Space Marine to the game every turn. This little collection of buffs really makes the unit a nightmare to remove from the table. Unless you can blast through 24 toughness 5 wounds with a 6+ feel no pain, then you're going to have significant amount of ATVs coming back. Say you manage to kill 2 ATVs and bring one down to 4 wounds remaining perhaps. No mean feat in itself, but then the Apothecary will heal that last one up to 4 wounds again and set another one back up on the table, so you're now looking at a squad of 2 ATVs again. Very scary and annoying stuff that, to see a lot of your hard work undone. Unless you can wipe the whole squad, they're going to be putting out some very reliable firepower all game long. In terms of power combos for the ATVs, several chapters could work quite well with them. Salamanders will do great in the tactical doctrine for their extra wounds with melters, and if you just have the one unit, then their psychic powers can be pretty decent as well. You could get them -1 to hit with Fire Shield, and +1 to their toughness with Drakeskin. Imperial Fists could soup up their firepower a bit with Ignores cover and extra shots with their bolt rifles. Raven Guard could put them permanently in cover for a 2+ save at long range. Deathwatch work quite well with them. They can get a 5+ invul save from their Relic Storm Shield and a 5+ feel no pain from one of their psychic powers on top of their intrinsic rerolls. Dark Angels could give them a 4+ invul save with high speed focus for 1 command point per turn. There's a Warlord trait to get you Devastator Doctrine for more turns than you should, and if they are able to stand still, you could get +1 to hit from Grim Resolve as well. White Scars, despite their biker synergies, only have a few interesting options in my opinion. Probably the biggest deal is being able to advance and shoot with heavy weapons with a stratagem or 2. If you are looking to build a Death Castle at the back, you could get a 5+ invul save from Psychic Fortress from the new Librarius discipline. And if the enemy gets close enough to tag you in combat, then it's just 1 command point to fall back and shoot. Hit and run warfare works on bikes, so it will work on the ATVs. Possibly one of the biggest weaknesses of the formation is the Apothecary. If your opponent has decent snipers and are able to take them out, then it will fall down somewhat. It might even be worth considering some company veterans to protect the Apothecary with their bodyguard rule. In terms of their in-game use, it's fairly straightforward to be honest. I think the ATVs will want to start at least fairly far forward with their short range, and the Apothecary will be wanting to start fairly far forward as well, as he's going to limit how far they can move. If there's decent cover, you could potentially hide the Apothecary behind a wall if snipers are a threat. His auras will work straight through walls and things, he doesn't have to have line of sight, and you could potentially hover them at the edge of your deployment zone for a few turns popping off shots, and then abandon the Apothecary altogether and use their very decent movement to go after objectives. Lots of flexibility with this unit, and whichever way the formation is played, it's quite likely to be a big thorn in the opponent's side. So how might we go about countering one of the stronger power combos in the Space Marine Codex? Firstly, you can kind of predict where they'll be next turn. Their movement will be slightly limited due to the Apothecary if they still want to keep that 6+ feel no pain. Next, I describe their damage output as pretty reasonable, but it's not absolutely spectacular, and if you're not going to be able to kill at least 2 ATVs, then you're likely going to be better off going after other Space Marine army assets that aren't going to regenerate on you. Multi-melters are pretty scary, but compared with various other Space Marine units, they're not going to be getting rerolls from characters, and there's only limited options that you can buff their firepower with. Overall, I'd say that the best ways to counter them are either kill the Apothecary with sniper weapons or something else, just drown them in absolutely tons of focused firepower to destroy the full squad of ATVs in one turn, or if you can, it would certainly be worth trying to tri-point them and lock them in close combat, as then they won't be able to fire their guns for a turn. Otherwise, you're probably just best off ignoring the squad, going after everything else in the Space Marine army first, scoring any objectives, and then maybe trying to deal with them in the late game if you have achieved everything else. I do strongly suspect that this is going to get some sort of nerf with an FAQ. We haven't had the Space Marine Codex FAQ at time of recording, and I would personally say that this is odds on to get a nerf in some form. You never know with Games Workshop though. So let me know your thoughts on the regenerating Mario Karts of Doom down in the comments below. I'd be particularly interested in hearing if you've either had to face the combo or been able to run it yourself recently. If you've enjoyed the video, then feel free to subscribe to Auspex Tactics, where we'll certainly be keeping the regular 40k content coming each and every day. And if you are enjoying the videos, I would just like to mention that the channel has a Patreon page, which you can find down in the video description. Making all of these videos does take a fair amount of time, and if you are enjoying regularly, then any support is massively appreciated. Channel patrons get to see a video early each week, there's regular votes to see what sort of things happen next on the channel, and you also get automatically entered into the channel's monthly prize giveaway with the chance to win some really big model kits. For the one in December, we'll be giving away 3 start collecting boxes, each of the winner in question's choosing, so quite a good one I think. If any of that sounds good to you, or you'd just like to help support the channel, then the link is down in the video description. In any case, a massive thank you for listening, and I'll hope to see you guys next time.